This is James Holder for IFL I'm at the post-fight press conference today for Arthur Abraham versus Paul Smith. With me, I've got promoter Eddie Hearn. Eddie, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. Obviously, I'm proud of Paul Smith's performance. A lot of people wrote him off. Most thought he won the fight. You know when you come to Germany, when you fight away, you've always got it to do, but you hope you get a fair crack at the whip. And it wasn't so much the decision, because you can take that on the chin. If you thought Paul Smith won by a round or 2 rounds, then ultimately he can lose the fight if there's a round in it. And again, if it was 115, 113, 114, 114, you might have taken it on the chin, and Paul Smith gets the respect that he deserves for a very close fight. But 11-1, I mean, it's just, and it's not a suggestion of corrupt judges or anything like that. It's just inept judges that cannot have a clue about a fight.
3 inept judges?
Listen, 117, 111 is wide, but again, in a fight that's close, 1, 2, 3 rounds, and a lot of the rounds were close. Paul was by far the busier. Paul threw more punches, but Arthur took a lot on his gloves. He probably landed the more, eye-catching shots, probably the more hurtful shots. But how can you have it 11-1? I mean, I think the first half of the fight I gave to Abraham, the second half of the fight I gave to Paul Smith. And again, I don't mind a round, 2 rounds if it's a close fight. But 11-1 and 6, it's just not on. And I think that will actually benefit Paul Smith because of the poor judging, because I believe it gives us a real opportunity to go forward. And what we'll do now is, we'll approach Paco Valcárcel, the president of the WBO, and we'll file a petition for a rematch. Because it's a voluntary challenge, I think that's unlikely. But what I'd like to do is for Paco Valcárcel to make Paul Smith the mandatory challenger for Arthur Abraham when that's due.
With that said and done, with the relationship you've got with Sauerlands, do you think this can be sorted in-house without going through that kind of...
Kala hit the nail on the head. If there's demand for the fight from the fans and from the broadcaster, then I'm sure the fight will happen. If there isn't, then it won't happen.
Go on, Eddie. Let's get it on. Let's get it on.
We heard it first. You heard it first. But he says the same that I said after the George Groves Carl Froch fight. If the demand is there from the fans and the broadcasters, the fight happens. I think he'll see the demand is there from the fans. His broadcasters is his business. No, it's on there. You'll see it on your Twitter feed. Yeah, well done, mate. But again,
I haven't got that many followers.
No. But listen, ultimately, again, if the demand's there, it will happen. I'd like to see Paul installed as a mandatory challenger. I think he deserves that.
Kelly Sauerland said it would take a huge offer to bring Arthur Abraham to Liverpool with a co-feature with David Price. Is that something you would consider, Eddie?
Yeah, we can look at that. I think it's unlikely that Arthur's going to want to leave Germany. And I don't have a problem with coming back here. I think because there's been focus on the scoring, I think next time around it would probably be a little bit different. But listen, we'd love Arthur Abraham to come to Liverpool, to Anfield, but it would take a huge offer. Listen, maybe we can work on the numbers, but no problem to come back here in, I think, realistically, January, February. But ultimately, I'm pleased for Paul Smith. What he's done is he's proved that he's world class tonight, and I think a defeat in disappointing circumstances, i.e. one-sided circumstances, might have signalled the end of his career. But he's shown that the majority felt like he won the fight. So, and Arthur Abraham is a brilliant fighter, middle, ruled at 160, ruled at 168, and Paul Smith just gone in there in his backyard and put a performance in like that. Just disappointed he didn't get the justice and the reflection within the scorecards.
Should Paul Smith be standing here as a world champion tonight, in your opinion?
Listen, it's such a close fight. Again, I'm straight up, James, I'm honest with you. When I got in the ring after, I didn't feel he'd get the decision because I just felt it was too close. Do you know what I mean? And I don't believe that when it's that close in away from home, you're necessarily going to get it. But again, when you look at and you're thinking, wow, and I've seen it. I remember standing behind him, looking up at the big screen, just seeing the scores come up, just thinking, oh, why are you?
To give him one round.
I know. It's sick, really, sickening. When you've trained all your life and you drink and you've put the work in camp, to be given 1 round it's just not on. But again, that actually will probably help him because there'll be more uproar because of the judging. If it was 114, 114, 115, 113. People go, fair enough. You know, it was a close fight, could have gone either way. I think Paul won, but that really puts the focus on the fight and the scoring, and hopefully allows us to make more noise to make the rematch.
We've had tweets from Wayne Rooney, Alexis Stephen
Gerrard. I know they've all been texting Paul.
Getting in, messaging. What has the British public and the general public that follow you on Twitter? What has the response been, and how big has the response?
It's been fantastic, and I think it would do big numbers in the UK tonight. And people just got to get behind us and get behind Paul Smith. Follow the links to Paco Valcazar, and follow the links to Calla, and tell him we've got to do this. We've got to get Paul Smith justice, get him another shot, show him that the demand's there, and let's do it. He deserves another crack because it was that close a fight. And again, let's make some noise, and I think the WBO will be helpful, and I think ultimately when they watch the fight, they'll think he deserves another shot, and hopefully they'll install him as the mandatory challenger.
Last message for the WBO and for Cal Sutherland from yourself, please.
Listen, nothing to do with Cally Sutherland, how the judges scored the fight. At the end of the day, we're partners with Calla, and if the fight makes sense for everybody, it will be made. The WBO are a governing body with huge integrity. We've dealt with them for a number of years. I think my father even helped set up the WBO many, many moons ago. I believe Paco will watch the fight, and his team there and his panel will watch the fight and believe that Paul Smith deserved more, and therefore I think they will make him the mandatory challenger. We've got their summit coming up in October. We'll be lobbying there and making sure he gets a fair crack at the whip. But ultimately, if Calla sees the demand there and the broadcasters are happy with the fight, I think it's got a great chance.
Anything you'd like to add before we go?
No, just thanks to everyone for the support for Paul Smith, especially the people that made the trip. The noise was great, the atmosphere was brilliant, the show was great. It was a great opportunity for Paul Smith, and we're grateful for that opportunity. Don't forget, he was a voluntary challenger. It's not like he forced his way to a shot. He's been working very hard. They picked Paul Smith, to have this fight with Arthur. And now we want to be in a position where we don't give him a choice to pick him. He's told to fight Paul Smith. But again, Paul's really proved that he's in that mix. And listen, it might be another fight other than Arthur Abraham. It's a wonderful division. It might be Anthony Durrell. Might be Carl Froch. Might be Mikhail Kessler. But he's performed on that world stage, and he's put himself right in the mix, and he should be really proud.
All right, Eddie, thanks for a bit of time, mate.
All right, mate.
Catch you again, Wilson.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cheers.